All right, Roger Martin here from Billings, Montana. This is from the Praying Medic, and he is probably one of the best sources with Q and other things. What's going on with Trump? He says something very interesting here between Page and several other individuals, and between the Obama staff and several things that are going on. Um, so, quote from him here.
Unlike a lot of reporters and political commentators, Carlson believes that the deep state has not gotten the best of the president. And although he is not a Q follower, he is not a Q hater. Jeff and I actually chat back and forth from time to time. We share information. I often hit him up for links to articles and things that I'm researching. He posted this the other night on Twitter. I've never used the words trust a plan. If by that you mean that I believe that President Trump actually knows what he's doing, is not simply powerless and isolated on a political island, then sure, I trust real Donald Trump and I trust his judgment. I believe he was given the transcript because the president and his white hats in the intelligence community and Congress knew that he would use it to advance the narrative that they need us to understand, and that is the fact that the crimes of the Obama cabinet and staff are known and they're going to be prosecuted.
Now, that's what I want to bring up. If the White Hats or the CIA or the military intelligence, or whoever you want to call it, that are with Trump, giving him information. They know about the crimes of the Obama administration and his cabinet, and they are going to be punished or brought to uh, military tribunals on their crimes. And that will include Hillary Clinton and many other individuals. You wait and see. We haven't seen all this play out, but it's going on right now. And same with the CIA director Brennan. I don't know how he's played into this, but you're going to find out that it's going to come out one way or another, and they're going to be caught in their tricky snares.
All right. Lisa Page was questioned as to what she knew about CIA Director Brennan's briefing to the White House on the FBI's investigation Crossfire Hurricane. This is kind of a big deal because if it can be proven that the White House was running, steering, or being given information on this investigation into Trump, that puts Obama in a very difficult spot. And people that are close to Obama are trying to put out fires and suggestions that Obama knew about and was running this operation. We have text messages from Strzok and Page essentially saying that the White House is running it.
So see, there's some conflict right there. Strzok and Page say Obama was running it and knew about it, and other people trying to put out the fire saying he didn't. So someone is lying, and I have a tendency to believe that Strzok and Page knew what they were talking about, and their intentions that Obama was running it is going to be clearly shown here. He's been running things long before Trump got in it, and Trump has also been running some other things before he got in the presidency because these two people have been battling back and forth, Obama and Trump, for a long time. And Trump actually started in his stuff into the military before he got elected because the military was abused by Obama so much that there were great divisions in the military before Obama's second term was up. And you had to decide which side of the fence you were going to jump on in the military in the higher echelons. And we're seeing this all being played out now in the martial law and Guantanamo Bay, Guana, the military tribunals and other things. Um, so this stuff has been going on for a long, long time, to say the least.
In this exchange, a congressional representative asked Page a question about her knowledge of Brennan and whether he had the Steele dossier. Page and whether Brennan briefed the White House. Now we know Brennan did brief the White House. He said that he did. And this is early on in the investigation. Page said this, "Sir, I would be shocked. I would truly be stunned to discover that Director of CIA Brennan had briefed the president on the substance of our investigation or even the existence of our investigation. I can't say it didn't happen, I wasn't there, but I would be stunned to discover that. So, Brennan says he did brief President Obama on the FBI's investigation of Trump. Lisa Page, who was involved in the investigation, says she wasn't aware that Brennan had any information about their investigation.
So you see, this is conflict in here. There's great conflict and a lie. And you can bet Obama knew about it, and you bet Lisa Page tried to cover her butt.
Former Department of Justice National Security Director John P. Carlin is a mysterious figure in this whole Trump-Russia investigation and what we call Spygate. He actually signed off on the annual FISA compliance certification. I believe it was at the end of August. It might have been September 2016. The day after he signed off on FISA compliance certification, he quit his job. He was gone. And that is very interesting because Admiral Rogers had uncovered a lot of discrepancies and a lot of shenanigans going on with respect to the FISA system. And
Admiral Rogers. So you see, the military intelligence, Admiral Rogers saying this guy quitting after he signed off on this, they know the gig's up, and they know that the military has the goods on them. And these guys are bailing and trying to run, but they're not going to be able to run far. You wait and see. This whole thing's coming down to this FISA warrants coming down to uranium ones coming down to Hillary and Obama and all the people that are connected in this, in the DOJ, in the FBI, in the military. It's all coming to a head. And when it really comes out and when it's really shown, it won't amaze anybody. They'll know that these rascals have been caught, and they'll be red-handed, they'll be caught with their pants down, and a lot more exposed in their legs, let me tell you.
And they weren't going to be able to pin it on Carlin because he left. So Q, back in June, dropped this post, D-Class, LP, Lisa Page, Viva la Resistance. This was a text message that was found from Lisa Page. Viva with an A versus Viva with an E, J space C, brackets. Why classified by Intelcom at the highest level? Define title, define role with Mueller, exchange shelters a very senior member. All right, so Lisa Page was on Mueller's team. J, we kind of decoded this J_C as John P. Carlin, JPC. A very high-level person in the DOJ. He had the title, and I believe that someone was sheltering Carlin from any kind of exposure as being involved in this whole thing. Well, Lisa Page said that John Carlin, he's in the Department of Justice now, was being kept up to date on the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation through Andrew McCabe, sometimes directly from McCabe.
So McCabe has been feeding information to this Carlin again. You're going to see that all this web is connected, and all these people are connected, and what they're doing is connected. There are no happenstance situations here. This is all connected. And they're going to get their cojones in a vice, let me tell you. And they're going to get squeezed until they pop. It's coming.
Sometimes through George Toscas. Toscas was one step below John Carlin. This is Lisa Page talking about the FBI investigation. I do know that at least John Carlin, for example, who was a political appointee, was kept abreast of the sort of investigative activity that was going on. And the reason I know that is because whenever there was a conflict between us and the DOJ, FBI, John might call over to John Carlin, might call over to Andy McCabe and sort of make his team's pitch. And then Andy would, sort of the back and forth would go on All right, so Page basically confirms that Carlin was definitely in on what was happening. In fact, a lot of people in the Department of Justice were being informed about what was going on with the FBI's investigation into Trump. I'll get to that in just a minute.
You're gonna find out this web gets pretty deep into the FBI, DOJ.
I'm just going to read part of this section here. In response to a question asking who was McCabe's direct counterpart at the DOJ on the investigation, Page responded it would have been John. It was either John Carlin or George Toscas who would have reached out to McCabe. Now,
he knows these names: Page, John Carlin, Toscas, and McCabe.
Jeff Carlson notes here, the congressional staffer who was doing this particular line of questioning seemed to attempt to mitigate the information that was just revealed by Page. He says, numerous witnesses have confirmed to us that Toscas, a career prosecutor, was in charge of the day-to-day operation of DOJ on this investigation, and that Carlin and other political folks above him had briefings, certainly so they had knowledge, but they didn't have any input in the investigation. So it seems like this congressional staffer was trying to cover for Carlin and trying to minimize his involvement, which Q has suggested that Carlin is being shielded for some reason. Despite the recent assessment by FBI Director Chris Wray.
As usual, there are many people behind the scene which are not mentioned specifically, and yet they are involved. You could make 100 movies off all this crap. Let me tell you, it's pretty twisted.
Coordination with Mr. Cortan and with Mr. Cortan at my side. So I can't explain why there's no reference to Mr. Cortan in any testimony, if he did give any in the IG report. So that is very interesting that Cortan doesn't appear in the IG report as someone involved in the leaks, but Page says he definitely was involved. He actually authorized some of the leaking to the press. So did Andrew.
So he was a higher up from Page, and he gave the authorization to Page to leak some of this stuff. Yet he's not mentioned directly. Always covering up someone's butt above you. You're going to take the fall.
Andrew McCabe. An email from Peter Strzok discussed a FISA application referred to by the code name Dragon. When she was asked about that, she said she could not discuss it in an unclassified setting. Background information.
Could not discuss it in an unclassified situation. So this was another play that was classified, involves some higher ups, and this is interesting.
And it seems to refer to a surveillance request that was part of another investigation, and that investigation was codenamed Dragon. And that was also related to the Trump-Russia investigation. All right. In September, Q suggested that there was panic in D.C. because Loretta Lynch and Rod Rosenstein were teaming up and talking to investigators to try to save themselves. It seemed like DOJ personnel had allied themselves against FBI personnel, that it might be Rosenstein and Loretta Lynch teaming up against Andrew McCabe and Jim Comey. Lisa Page's testimony seems to...
You can bet there's a lot of this going on between the DOJ and the FBI, and they're going to be throwing mud, slinging up on one side or the other, but they're both going to be caught with their pants down, you can bet. They don't have clean hands on either side completely.
Confirm that there was definitely a line that was drawn between the FBI and the DOJ. In fact, in her testimony, Lisa Page said all the major decisions about how the FBI's investigation was going to be handled were all made by the DOJ. The DOJ, she says, dictated who was going to be interviewed, who was going to be prosecuted, and for what. They made all the decisions. She protested pretty loudly, saying that they were all...
So the DOJ, higher ups in the DOJ, were giving the orders to the FBI to fall in line and do those orders. So we're getting closer to who's really calling the shots as time goes on.
Pretty upset that the DOJ was running everything. I mean, FBI was tasked with interviewing people and gathering the information and writing the reports, but that she says the DOJ was really running the show. The question is, did the DOJ actually run the operation, or was Page throwing them under the bus to save her FBI friends?
See, that you don't know. Like I said, you're going to find out that none of these people's hands are clean, and they're going to throw different people underneath the bus to save their own butts. Now you're going to find out this is one hell of a can of worms. I'm going to end it here. You can watch some of this other stuff here, but it gets very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Trump's people with the help of British intelligence. One individual that Page specified as not being part of the trip was Bill Priestap, FBI's head of counterintelligence. Lisa Page confirmed that she went to London in December of 2016. Well, we have known that for some time. Q first posted pictures of Lisa Page and Peter Strzok in London last February. This picture here, we've done some digging.
So Q posted this. This was in February 2016. Like I said, the military intelligence is on top of this as well. Some real battles going
on. If you zoom in, you can see here's a male figure here and here's a female figure here. And gosh, that female figure looks a lot like Lisa Page. So, again, good confirmation. If you're interested in getting some more information on Spygate, Jeff Carlson, themarketswork.com has tons and tons of good information. He's got information on FISA. He has written some very good articles on John Brennan's role in Spygate. Wrote a nice article, Spygate, The True Story of Collusion. It includes a large infographic, and he has a lot of sections in that article on the different players and what their roles were as far as he can discern from the information that's available. All right, again, we're going to shift gears. This is a post from Q this morning. It's a picture of an airport terminal in China, and Q writes, waiting VIP arrival, what senior U.S. official is arriving in China? Purpose? Q. All right. So lots of interesting theories on that. First thing I like to do with these pictures, Q has posted airport pictures from China before, and it's always worth spending a little bit of time looking into them. This is a blown up section of that picture, and you can see there is, it looks like gate 2A and 2C. And I did a little search and found a picture, and this is from Shanghai's Pudong Airport. And again, you've got gates 2A and 2C. And I believe this is the same terminal, so I mean, Q kind of told us where they were at, but I'd like to just confirm it independently. All right. There were lots of guesses about who that VIP is that was coming into China this morning. The guesses include members of the delegation that had just visited China for trade negotiations. The problem is those trade talks ended on Wednesday, and that delegation is likely home already. And Q posted this morning at, I think, around 3:30. And Q asked, who is arriving today? Well, and it's a U.S. Senior member. So I did a lot of searching. I spent a good hour searching this morning for news articles and any information on anyone significant that was traveling to China today. I couldn't find anything, nothing. So my guess is that the American VIP is traveling covertly. We're not supposed to know who that person is right now. I'm guessing we're going to hear about it at a later date. And if that is true, Q will probably drop a little news story that has to do with somebody having talks in China, and he'll go, hey, future proves past. So
there again, Q's on top of it. Intel and inside information. Need to know basis. What's interesting is that the Corps of Army Engineers was sent down to the border, and they're already starting to build on the wall using uh, military money and funds and technology. It's already begun. It doesn't matter that we're having this congressional thing about this. Trump is just using this to show how foolish the Democrats are because he's already begun on this
Have
information.
a red castle as their symbol, and that maybe, and we had been talking, Q had been talking about the border wall, and so we just guessed that maybe Trump was planning to build the border wall using the Defense Department money and the Corps of Engineers. And then Greencastle, same deal. We were able to find out that Putnam County Army Corps of Engineers in Indiana is located in Greencastle, Indiana. So Q then posted this drop from Ruth Bader Ginsburg and said, "At what point is it mathematically impossible?" The very next day after this Q post, Ruth Bader Ginsburg doesn't show up for court. They're Green Castle, Red Castle. Yesterday, the president announced that he has directed the Army Corps of Engineers to look at ways to fund and build the southern border wall. All right. How did Q know about those things in advance? If Q is some idiotic LARP on 8chan who doesn't have any inside information, how is Q predicting these things before they happen? During Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing, Q posted a link to a video where Nancy Pelosi explained to the press how politicians need their help to smear their mutual enemies. I'll let you listen to this video.
You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic.
Then Q posted this: if a woman is selected as a nominee, this is for Supreme Court to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, does that eliminate the wrap-up smear regarding sexual assault? What other tactics might be planned to block and or force the name removal? The person would then be forced to withdraw their nomination. Why is the Senate important? Who controls the Senate? 5347. Enjoy the show. Q. A couple of anons gave some answers. They could accuse her of racism, anti-choice, religious zealot, other character assassination, read projection tactics. This anon went a little bit more into it. They can go after her husband, other male family member. They can claim she protected a sexual predator. They can also claim she slept her way into certain positions. What other tactics might be planned to block and or force removal? Claims that she is pro-life, will overturn Roe versus Wade for religious reasons. In short, attack her religion. Kamala Harris attacked the Trump judicial appointment because that person was a Catholic, happened to be a member of the Knights of Columbus, and she just went kind of ballistic on that guy. Amy Coney Barrett was on the previous list of possible Supreme Court nominees, which Judge Kavanaugh actually came from. She is still, considered a possible nomination to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. A journalist wrote in this article how it's likely that people in the Senate would attack her because of her faith, because of her, maybe personal views on abortion. So there are a lot of things they can attack a female candidate for. But just as they did with Justice Kavanaugh, the attacks by the Wiley County Democrats are probably going to backfire.
All right, we're going to end it here. You can see the rest of it. Most of it I've covered in here. Very interesting to see the political game and show played out. And maybe we're not as dumb as they think. Hopefully it will backfire. Ruth Bader Ginsburg will be replaced in a year or two and be forced to resign. I don't know. But somewhere between now and the re-election time or after the re-election time, she'll be replaced by someone, probably another gal. Again, there's Roger Martin from Billings, Montana.